Accusing him of discrimination and bias following the release of a recent report on revenue leakages at the Ghana Revenue Authority and his decision to surcharge frozen foods company La Bianca Group Limited. Tonight we have full details of that latest episode from the Citizen Vigilante, who says the investigation into the La Bianca saga lacks constitutional mandate on the part of the OSP, plus hear from some groups who are calling for heads to roll at GRA.
Frozen food, if you go to Ivory Coast and Togo and other things, it is 25%. We are taking it 35%. That is why we are paying duty plus before fees and charges. Again, I think the GRA there, from the Commissioner General to Commissioner of Custom to the support Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner in charge of support, there's a problem there.
And tonight we have more unpacking on the La Bianca story. It's here on Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. Further together and Trelida, Africa's strongest burglar proofing. I am blessed, Sogah. The Office of the Special Prosecutor chose its victims and then targeted them with an unlawful investigation to tarnish their reputations and standings in the courts of public opinion. That's the position of the former Special Prosecutor Martin Amidu, who is tonight descending heavily on his successor Kisi Ejabeng, accusing him of discrimination and bias following the release of a report on revenue leakages at the Ghana Revenue Authority. In a report titled Investigations into Alleged Commission of Corruption and Corruption-Related Offences Involving La Bianca Group of Companies and the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Office of the Special Prosecutor revealed that they had recovered a little over $1 million Ghana cedis from the Ghanaian frozen food company while indicting 2 persons at the Customs Division of the GRA, including Ken, founded on malice.
Since 3 days ago, what has been happening? A report purporting or coming from the Office of the Special Prosecutor trying to indict the Deputy Commissioner of Operations and myself. And if anybody who has read that report very well will know the basis of that. And luckily for me, God is always on my side. Before that report came, that person had made a statement to some people who had come to them. He was going to publish something that will discredit me, and he will do that. And I even sent people to go and tell him that he's a small boy. I'm older than him. I have lived a meaningful life. If he attempts to destroy me, it won't be easy for him. People have tried it. I have survived. And this one too, I'll survive.
So that's the furious Colonel Damois, of course, threatening the new Special Prosecutor, Kisi Ejabeng, soon after the Ghana Revenue Authority distanced itself from these comments of Colonel Damois, adding that it is rolling out additional measures to guard against revenue leakages. Here are excerpts.
Since 3 days ago, what has been happening?
The GRA says the customs boss spoke in his personal capacity and did not convey the opinion of the board and management of the Ghana Revenue Authority.
How about the Special Prosecutor's report? What does the GRA have to say about it?
It says it accords the Office of Special Prosecutor with the respect and dignity that the office carries, and it intends to study the report in detail to ensure implementation of measures to improve revenue collection.
And are there steps it intends to take in terms of dealing with the issue going forward in the long term?
And so it states that it has since December 2021 issued a directive that discounts or rebates should be given on items or products at importation and to cancel all approved discounts. It also indicates that it is undertaking a review in line with the recommendations of the Special Prosecutor to ensure that it deals with such matters.
Well, so that's the position of the Ghana Revenue Authority. A couple of days ago, the Office of the Special Prosecutor issued a media report in which it revealed that it was going ahead to carry out a complete audit of customs advance rulings and also markdowns in benchmark values. So let's bring you some updates on that. Joining us now is Scott correspondent Joseph Akable, who's been going through that media report from the Office of the Special Prosecutor. First off, Blay, let's start off with the decision to do a further probe. What's informing that decision from the OSP to carry out a thorough investigation dating back to 2017, as we're learning of?
As far as the Special Prosecutor Kisei Jabin is concerned, this decision is informed by what he found when he undertook the La Bianca probe. He says that his conclusion of the issues of influence peddling, about how discretion had been exercised by custom officials in a manner that he believes was contrary to law and laid down procedure, that left him with no option but to conclude that it appears to be a systemic challenge that exists within the customs division, for which reason he took the decision that he's going to undertake a full-scale probe from 2017. And what he intends to do by way of undertaking this probe was to demand certain documents, and that has to do with any such applications for such waivers, if I'm to put it, classify them generally as waivers, that has come in from various companies. The decision that was taken on those waivers, all those documents, he wants them to be made available to his office to go through them to see whether what he suspects to be the case of a consistent practice of not following guidelines and rules in a manner that results in the state losing money is indeed a trend.
And soon after this, we know that the Importers and Exporters Association is calling for heads to roll at the Ghana Revenue Authority. Let's and Blake, just stay with me. Let's first of all listen to Samson Asakia Wingobet, who is executive director of that group.
Frozen food, if you go to Ivory Coast and Togo and other things, it is 25%. We are taking it 35%. That is why we are paying duty plus before fees and charges. Again, I think the GRA there, from the Commissioner General to Commissioner of Custom to the support Commissioner, Deputy Commissioner in charge of support, there's a problem there. The President or the government or the Chief of Staff, they should put down their foot and find out, because the Commissioner General support work with his lieutenants. And if you are there having issues with your lieutenants, trying to plug someone to be a scapegoat and use, because I see no reason why the Canada more is still at post. Then you go and issue state. I thought they should have, if they should have, as an institution, they should have accepted the bullet. They should have buy the bullet. Say, we accepted whatever my men have done. Then it is I have taken the blame. We are apologizing on behalf. We will deal with our staff in-house. And whatever recommendation the special prosecutor will bring across, we will handle. But not to do this way. I totally disagree with what the Commissioner General and his board have done. And so, if the President will listen to me, I'm saying that fire the Commissioner General, fire the Deputy Commissioner in charge of support, fire the Commissioner of Custom, fire the board, constitute new.
Okay. All right.
In GRA.
So let me give the final thoughts to Dennis. Now,
or they all be at post.
Yeah. Well, so that's what transpired on PM Express earlier this week, but there's a lot of developments on the story. Let me first of all tell you about my guest, Kwame Nyimadu-Entry, who's the chairperson of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee of Parliament. Thank you, Mr. Nyimadu, for joining us here on Top Story. Right.
Good evening.
Is raising tonight. Martin Amidu and Blay, I want to bring you back to just help us with some of the issues Martin Amidu is raising. First of all, Martin Amidu has raised some questions about the decision in the first place of the Office of the Special Prosecutor to publish the findings on what it discovered on the Ghanaian company La Bianca. What's the concern of Martin Amidu on that?
Mr. Amidu says that under the Office of Special Prosecutor Act and the Reg LI that was subsequently passed to help the office operationalize by way of its mandate, he says it does not allow the Special Prosecutor to publish the results of investigative panels' work for the trial of suspects in the court of public opinion, because such publication could damage the reputation of such individuals. He distinguishes such a publication from other instances where the Act allows the Special Prosecutor to publish a half-yearly report. And so the following information in at least 2 daily newspapers of national circulation, the website of the office, that is a list of the corruption cases investigated and prosecuted by the office, and the number of acquittals convene that it's not an investigation that has reached the level of this particular requirement of it being investigated and prosecuted, and makes the point that the La Bianca publication does not mention specifically what offense the suspects were charged
Right.
or cautioned on or were being investigated with regards to.
And then he goes ahead to draw that conclusion that the OSP is engaging in an act of unconstitutionality.
Yes, he makes the point that the Constitution guarantees that a person who is accused of an offense is deemed to be innocent until the person has had his day in court. And so, by the publication that the OSP has undertaken, especially because he says it does not disclose any offense that has been charged or cautioned in terms of the individuals who were named in this particular report, that meant that their reputation was put on the line. And he says it came as no surprise that they became victims of.
And some other two officials of the Ghana Revenue Authority. Martin Amidu goes ahead to raise that concern that their images are being tarnished by what he describes as an unlawful report. Why?
He explains that that portion of the report says Section 3 of Act 959, Regulations 5, 6, and 7 of LI 2374 dealing with preliminary investigations, inquiry investigation, full investigation, investigations panel has been unconstitutional and unlawfully turned into a public report containing damning adverse findings of guilt in a court of public opinion against, then he mentions the individuals, Eunice Jacqueline Boa Sumahene, and a board member of the Port and Harbour Authority. Then talks about Deputy Commissioner for Customs, Joseph Eduche, and the Commissioner for Customs, Colonel Kojo Damwa, retired. And he says that they are required that once they are arrested, restricted, or detained, they are supposed to be taken to a process and they'll be presumed innocent until a plea
Proven guilty.
And even after that, a full-scale investigation or prosecution takes place in the courts.
And just before I bring in Mr. Inyimadu MT, I want you to tell us about this. That's a very interesting twist to all of these matters unfolding. Martin Amidu then brings in government and tries to link government to the OSP, accusing the OSP of some diversionary tactics. What's happening?
He talks about the fact that a radio station owned by a perceived powerful maternal cousin of the president, who is also a friend and associate of the special prosecutor, that station published a story that indicated that Colonel Damwa and Reverend Amisha Dai, who is the GRA boss, are not likely to have their contracts, which have come to an end, renewed. And so he said that publication came days after the report had been issued. And so he says the coincidence of the events raises the question whether the OSP La Bianca report, which is not based on any caution or charge statement against whom these findings were made, was to put a trial in the public opinion and not just a ruse to remove these individuals from office. And so he says the way the events happened, it leaves him with no other opinion but to conclude that it appears it was staged in a manner that these individuals will have public opinion swing against them.
And so I'm sure that by now you're getting a sense of what the concerns of the citizen vigilante Martin Amidu is. So let me bring in Mr. Inyimadu Entry, who's the chairperson of the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee, joining us. He's a lawyer himself, so he understands the legalities involved here. Your initial reaction when, first of all, Martin Amidu says that government is diverting attention from the critical issues concerning the economy by using the Office of the Special Prosecutor to go after some persons and tarnish their image.
Yeah, good evening to your cherished listeners. My constituency is at Konongo. I beg Honorable Martin Amidu, he should stop behaving like the Kaya man from my hometown, Konongo, what we call Konongo Kaya. The whole nation give you the authority to actually run this office. You got to a point that you turned your back against the speech. Now you go and sit on the fence, and then you are now directing the institution that they will be doing you know the right thing to do, and that they are not doing the right thing. You are accusing this institution of doing wrong, and that they have actually taken sides. The question is whether or not what he is proposing, he had also not taken sides against the institution or another person. But I think Ghanaians will be very happy if he is able to win himself.
Kofi, back to you. I mean, I don't know whether anybody else has.
Because he has not.
Yes, you can go ahead, Mr. Enyimadu Entry.
Yeah, I said he's not treated Ghanaians fairly. So I think Ghanaians would be happier if he could win himself off OSP affairs.
But regardless of his posture and his shortfalls, as you're pointing out, Martin Amidu remains a citizen of the country. Your president, our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, says, don't be a spectator. So I guess that's what he's doing now, pointing to some ills within the very office he helped created or shaped at least.
I will not take him serious on these matters because you were given the opportunity not to be a spectator. You run away and you go and sit on the fence, and then you are now throwing stones at the very glass house that you built. I don't think that's
but I'm sure that if it is about proven integrity or track record when it comes to the law, Martin Amidu is quite a heavyweight, you agree. He talks about some unconstitutional conduct, which he says the Office of the Special Prosecutor is engaged in. The fact that he does not have the constitutional mandate to make such pronouncements on the likes of LaBianca and some officials of the GRA. Within the acts creating the Office of the Special Prosecutor, don't you feel that the former OSP has some case there?
Already, the stories that you were developing talks about the fact that I remember when we were enacting the law, there was something that we put in. Remember, Kesbury, that as part of the accountability, the OSP was supposed to actually come out with reports, publish the report that he will come out with. So I do not know, and this is a matter of interpretation, what they had actually brought. And from what the learned former Attorney General says, that's Honorable Martin Amidu, I do not think that coming out with a report is a conviction. That is not a conviction. Talking about the fact that the step that he had made is wrong. This is an institution that is running to actually help the whole nation. I wouldn't say that he had actually taken sides and that the report that he had brought is giving the report out of malice. I don't want to go that line. So let's see how the report and prosecutions and whatnot. The coming out of a report doesn't amount to conviction. And neither would I say that the OSP had actually committed any serious offense. Maybe they have erred, but if they had erred, probably you could advise them to not to do that. But I think he is the last person that should have the moral right to be talking about this one.
I see the difficulty you have with Martin Amidu here for giving up on the job which your government gave him. But let's bring in some other legal perspectives on this. And there are some people who, for instance, on your own committee disagree with you. Lawyer Nelson Dapiamakbo as well is also serving on the Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Committee. Let's bring him in now and mandate. Such as what we have in the likes of Shraj, to, make such directives as we're witnessing in the LaBianca case. You agree?
Now, let's be very clear on this matter. And before I speak to it, good evening to my senior, and good evening to your listening. Let's speak to the law establishing the Office of the Special Prosecutor. If we go to Section 2 of the Act, which is the object of the office. Section 2 speaks of the object of the office is to A, investigate and prosecute specific cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses. 2B, recover the proceeds of corruption and corruption-related offenses. And 2C, take steps to prevent corruption. Now, 3 speaks of the functions of the office. So Section 3, subsection 1 states, to achieve the object of the office shall A, investigate and prosecute cases of alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offences under the Public Procurement Act 203 Act 663 as amended. B, investigate and prosecute allegations of corruption and corruption-related offences under the Criminal Offences Act 1960 Act 29 involving public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector involved in the commission of the offense. And 3C, 3.1c, which is very, very instructive here, investigate and prosecute alleged or suspected corruption and corruption-related offenses involving public officers, politically exposed persons, and persons in the private sector involved in the commission of the offense under any other relevant law. So the matter in question is an alleged commission of corruption or corruption-related offense under the Customs Act in respect of payment of appropriate import duty.
Yeah, but when you have the former, occupant of that office of the special prosecutor attacking his successor in such a manner, don't you feel that his words are a bit harsh? He could have opted for other means of reaching out to the very office he used to occupy.
And address the legal issue. Martin Amidu is saying that the law establishing the office of the special prosecutor gives investigate and prosecute. You don't investigate and draw conclusions. Because the law says when you investigate and you establish a prima facie evidence or prima facie case, you proceed to prosecute. So that is why I agree with Martin Amidu, that it behoves on the office of the special prosecutor to proceed to prosecute in this matter and not to draw conclusions and, as it were, be giving directives.
We've seen a similar incident, happen when Martin Amidu occupied that office. Just hold on for me. Just hold on for me. We'll get to it. When Martin Amidu was in office, he published some updates on the Ejapa deal, the botched Ejapa deal. You were in Parliament at the time. You didn't have issues with that? Why have issues with the OSP now?
If you recall, I did have issues. I was among some of the few people who said that it is not sufficient for Martin to have simply conducted the investigation. He ought to prosecute. And then he came back to say that those were preliminary investigations, if you recall. So let me draw the parallel line in this matter to the effect that in this case, it's also saying that this investigation is a preliminary investigation and that further investigations will be conducted. So I'm patiently waiting for that final investigation to be conducted and for him to proceed to prosecute.
Anyway, there is also a corruption leg to all of this. So let's hear from the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Adam Senano, who's joining us tonight. Mr. Nyimadu Entry, I'll get your reaction shortly. But for you, Adam, as anti-graft campaigners, what are you on the lookout? Having heard from Martin Amidu, who's at the same time cautious Honorable Nyimadu Entry, where do we go from here, knowing clearly that clash has begun, having a former occupier or occupant of the...
It's not fair. This is an institution that the nation needs, and we must actually assist the institution to do the right thing. If they are wrong, Martin can actually point out. But this is something that they are developing. They need to actually investigate further, as my colleague has said, and then do the prosecution. As part of his mandate, periodically, the OSP is supposed to issue a report. I am not privy to how this report came, whether it is part of the periodic report or not. So at this time, I think we should actually allow the OSP to actually investigate this matter. It's about
on your side.
not
I just try to make sure.
And then we should get out from where we're saying this person is with malice and whatnot
All right.
whilst the investigation is going on.
Okay, I'm grateful so much for your time. So let's wrap up with Adam Senanwa. Adam, we lost you briefly, but Adam, I was trying to find out from you where we could move on from here. I mean, on the issue of corruption, you are on the lookout for fighting graft. Here you have two personalities that represent that nature and symbol of fighting corruption at loggerhead. So how do we resolve this in order to push the work of the OSP further?
Well, I don't think that loggerheads. I note that Mr. Martin Amidu has written in detail. I think that for the purposes of, using a redacted report to draw his conclusions is in quite poor taste. I recently talked to a Supreme Court judge about something. I said, it's poor judgment when you start speaking about who have just left. I don't think he has helped the terrain. He talks about witnesses when they were suspects. I have many problems with what he's put out in the public space, and I appeal to him that he shouldn't ruin his legacy by doing things like this. He could have approached the SP for the full report and probably been much more informed. I think that the special prosecutor should continue his work. I think he's done an excellent job so far, and we should continue to support him as best as we can and get more resources for him.
Adam Senano, I'm grateful. And for you, Roxanne Nelson Dapiamakbo, your final take on this?
I think with at 18 hours GMT. Welcome to the news.
Lost connection to Roxanne Nelson Dapiamakbo there. But the point is well made. You can also join the conversation on social media. It's Joy 99.7 FM. This is Top Story, brought to you by Vodafone. And Vodafone is definitely telling you that further together, as well as Trelida, Africa's strongest burglar proofing. I'm blessed as and just before we wrap up, we also need to tell you about some more issues relating to financial crimes. The Executive Director of Economic and Organized Crime Organization, Mamiya Tiwa Dudankwa, says state institutions are confronted with the huge challenges in prosecuting financial and economic crimes. According to her, state prosecutors are finding it difficult identifying the relevant laws to secure a conviction of, for example, Chief Executive Officer of the Defan Gold Dealership firm, Nanapia Mensah, Mamiya Tiwa Adudankwa, was speaking on economic crimes and its effect on the nation at a forum organized by the Asante Professional Club.
Then relevant laws defining offenses. Sometimes you believe it, somebody has committed an offense, but you can't have any relevant law to support your case to prosecute. And like I said earlier, nothing is a crime unless there's an enactment making it a crime. So, example is men's boat case. Which law, which act did it break? And it's becoming difficult even prosecuting that case because the law that will define the law, the offense, and also provide the elements, it's difficult to find. So the relevant law defining absence of that is also making prosecution difficult.
Well, so we do know that that's not all, because the Yoko boss again explained the challenges faced by some state institutions in prosecuting financial and economic crimes.
One of the difficult cases to prosecute or to investigate is economic or financial crime because it involves a lot of paperwork. And you need to prove the cases not because of what you think, because you believe the truth is that the person has committed offense. But the fact is that you need to provide evidence. And if you can't find something, documents are not there.
And also to address the subject of Ponzi schemes, Madam Tiwa Adudankwa Adudankwa says Yoko is embarking on vigorous education to draw attention to such fraudulent investments.
Some of them invested their whole life, and after the collapse, they had nothing, and they thought dying was better than living and not having anything. So these are some of the financial, emotional stress. I know one police officer who collected his end of service benefit and then invested everything in men's food, and the person lost everything. Now he has become a drunkard, even though he wasn't like that, because he doesn't understand how he will live without that money, because he was investing to get the return to support during his time of pension. But now he doesn't have it. So he's having a whole lot of things on some of these things. So because people don't do due diligence, they hear any returns on investment and then they run to go for it. We need to educate people. And Yoko is out educating people at the marketplaces, at the churches, at any opportunity that we get, any platform.
And that's the Executive Director of Economic and Organized Crime Office, Mamiya Tiwa Adodankwa. Wrapping up Top Story. Top Story is brought to you by Vodafone.